Al sat in his study, surrounded by the familiar shelves of leather-bound books and the faint hum of his thoughts. To him, the world was his chessboard, and his mind was the grandmaster, navigating its pieces with precision. His favorite tool? The God's eye view, a mental construct and an analytical assistant he had perfected over the years to detach from and dominate over any problem that came his way. This tool worked for him as a useful technique for wrapping his head around problems to solve. However, over the years, it became so hardwired into his identity that it permeated all his relationships. That evening, with little enthusiasm, the renowned scientist picked up a glossy magazine lying on the edge of his desk. Flipping through its pages absent-mindedly, his interest faded as quickly as it sparked, until a short story titled The Observer's Paradox caught his eye. The words seemed to glow on the page, tugging at him with an unfamiliar gravity. He leaned in closer, curiosity stirring against his will. Little did Al know, this unassuming story would unravel the foundation of his beliefs and confront him with a question he had never dared to ask. What happens when the observer becomes the observed? The narrative took him to Veritas, a distant planet in the galaxy of Harmonia, home to the observers. These beings perceived reality beyond the confines of human understanding. Among them was the beautiful Viridia, a human-like, deep-thinking seeker. Viridia was obsessed with achieving the God's eye view, a detached perspective that could untangle and explain every facet of the universe. For years, Viridia believed this ultimate perspective would unlock the secrets of existence. But her pursuit brought her face to face with an unsettling truth: the act of observing changes the observed. No matter how she tried to detach herself, her consciousness shaped the reality she sought to understand. Frustrated, she wandered to the known edges of Veritas, seeking answers where few dared to go. There, she encountered Ether, a being of pure consciousness, radiating light that was both blinding and soothing. She did not hear Ether's voice, but felt a resonance through her being. Ether softly spoke in a manner both gentle and authoritative. "What troubles you, seeker?" it asked. Viridia confessed her struggle, her yearning to see the universe as it truly was, free from the distortions of her own mind. Ether's response was simple yet profound: reality is not static. It is not a lifeless mechanism to be observed from the outside. It is alive, dynamic, a living tapestry woven by every observer. Your perspective is not a distortion of truth, it is a single thread in the cosmic fabric, an incomplete bridge to reality. Though limited, your perspective is essential, for it connects you to the greater whole. Absolute truth lies in this: existence is coexistence. It is the coexistence of consciousness, a consciousness that always was, and forever shall be. Everything material, harmonica itself, every molecule, every atom, owes its existence to this fundamental consciousness. From the supreme essence, the material world arises, and in turn, the material world gives rise to, and interacts with, the transcendent aspect of consciousness. Your awareness is inextricably nested within this interplay. You gave life to the material of Veritas, because it fascinated you, and absorbed you. But you come into my presence at this moment because of my predilection. My constant predilection is to be here always, in love, being love, and awaiting love. You, dear wayfarer, found a way to shut the door on the material world that absorbs the attention of the observers. You came here because you sought absorption, not in the material world, but in the depths of what births, sustains and animates all of existence, including that which reaches into the inner world. Imagine your awareness as the grand set of stories you have lived and will ever live. Now imagine reality as the universal set of all interconnected stories. This is the nature of existence. No universe unobserved is a real universe. The cosmos thrives on a symphony of perspectives. At that moment, Viridia understood that her search for detached objectivity, Her quest to stand outside reality and observe it as something separate was misguided. She was not an outsider peering into a lifeless mechanism, she was part of the mechanism itself. She was a participator, a created co-creator, engaged in the unfolding story of creation. And the force that connected every thread in this infinite tapestry was love, not the sentimental construct she had dismissed, but a fundamental energy, binding every perspective, hosting every interaction, and nourishing every shared existence. That night, Al couldn't shake Viridia's story from his mind. The words echoed in his thoughts, challenging everything he believed. For years, the God's eye view had been his ultimate tool, allowing him to rise above emotion, bias, and vulnerability. But now, a haunting question emerged. Had his perspective been a lens of clarity? Or was it a blindfold? Unable to sleep, Al meditated in the dim light of his study. At first, he felt control, calm, and centered. But as he delved deeper, the fortress of certainty he had built crumbled. Layer by layer, reality peeled back, revealing something raw and unsettling. The summit from which Al thought he could look down upon the universe was an infinite void. At that moment, there was no inner world to speak of in the mind of Al. It was as if an access door to a part of his awareness had been temporarily shut. No thoughts, no memories, no inner sensations were there. And nothing was transduced from the real world, out there. Just pure being, an unfiltered expanse where time dissolved, and the illusion of separateness disappeared. Here, he was not the meritorious scientist who lived for the accolades. In this place, Al lost his self-given right to be a perfect, sole observer of the real world out there. He was, at the deepest level of his being, both within and among the universe, a universe that graciously seemed to shape, host, and nurture his consciousness. Al sensed that every star, every atom, every whisper of consciousness was nested in the grand hotel of reality, and interconnected. The next morning, Al awoke with a peculiar calm. The world outside his window, the towering oak tree, the sunlight spilling through the blinds, looked the same, yet he saw it differently. And he sensed the reason it was different. He saw the God's eye view for what it was, his own, self-constructed, temporary, thought experiment, that somehow became a permanent fixture of his worldview. The God's eye view, thought experiment, suddenly felt useless and lifeless, like an outgrown brittle shell from another world. In its place was something richer, the realization that he wasn't separate from the world which he observed. He was, by some act of mercy not of his own, a part of it. Revisiting Viridia's story, its words shimmered with new meaning. Observation wasn't about aloofness but participation. Consciousness was not meant to fit into a construct where it can conquer reality by dividing it, but its purpose is to collaborate with reality. The stars no longer seemed like distant ornaments but also seemed representative of fellow travelers in the vast expanse of being. The universe, he realized, wasn't a machine to master. It was a symphony where every voice mattered. For the first time, Al felt at peace, not the peace of answers, but the peace of presence. The cosmos wasn't a puzzle to solve, but a mystery to live. Suppose complete reality isn't something to master but something to embrace? What if we propose that the physical processes of evolution producing the machinery of consciousness, and the transcendent nature of subjective experience, are entwined? What happens when we consider whether consciousness, in its deepest sense, is a feature of the universe that evolution merely taps into, rather than creates? Why shouldn't we consider theories that treat meaningful awareness as a fundamental property of reality, akin to space-time or quantum fields? What if the purpose of consciousness isn't to dominate but to co-create your inner world, in a way that is congruent with reality? Suppose its purpose is for us to learn to give up the summit and join the dance? If this story resonated with you, take a moment to reflect. Share your thoughts with others. Overall, this story navigates themes of perception, reality, interconnectedness, and the role of consciousness in shaping our understanding of existence. It conveys a sense of awe, wonder, and what appears to be the dissolution of Al's inner world self, which dissolves into the indivisible whole, where we exist. But in the end, we're all travelers in this vast cosmos, connected, essential, and part of the same unfolding story. Let's join the dance together.